Hey everyone, welcome to my channel as a married man. Want to thank you all for tuning it in and checking it out. It is here where we talk about love, life, relationships, and more, all from the perspective of a married man. So please, everyone, if you hit that like button for me and definitely subscribe to the channel, I would totally appreciate it. So today, guys, I'm going to be reviewing a video and it's featured on the channel SOSCAST with Adam Sosnick. And the video I'm reviewing is titled Andrew Tate Explains Why Men Should Never Get Married. And once again, this is a video that came across my recommended videos feed, or I guess if you want to call it that. But I was interested. Andrew Tate, he name carries some weight in the manosphere, and um, I wanted to get his opinion on the topic of marriage. So, I thought it was interesting. I gave it a listen. Um, and I'll post a link to this video and to the SOS Cast page in the bio if you guys want to check out uh, this video for yourselves a little later on. But I also wanted to give the SOS Cast page the props they deserve, give them a shout out. Yeah, this was my first time to their page. They had some interesting content, definitely like that red pill manosphere type stuff if you're into that. I know I am. That's where I get a lot of my content, hence why it probably popped up on my feed. And so here we are. But anyways, guys, let's get started. Like I said, this is just a clip from a podcast, little 7-minute clip, not the entire thing. And Andrew Tate, he does a good job explaining his take on the subject. And, as a married man, of course, I'll go over it myself once I'm done at the end here, and I'll give you my thoughts on it as well. So to get started, so we have the SOS cast host. I'm guessing that's Adam, and he's talking with Adam. I'm sorry, he's talking with Andrew Tate, and they're starting out the video by talking about Tate's past, referencing his childhood and his father. And it appears that his father just got up and left. Like the host mentions the fight, flight, or freeze response that everyone encounters, kind of summarized everyone's reactions in a situation. Do you fight, flight, or freeze? But in terms of Tate's childhood, it turns out the father kind of chose the flight action. Turns out, like I'm guessing, he walked out of the marriage, unfortunately. And the host goes on to say, Adam, in America, like, unfortunately, this is happening quite a bit, you know? Like single family households are becoming the norm. Like it's becoming pretty common that mothers are left to their own devices when it comes to raising children. And when that you factor in that, they're raising boys to become functional men, like unfortunately, they're falling a little short, through no fault of their own, of course. Like single mothers are doing the best job that they can, but are they raising, the best out of men, these boys to become men? Like, are they doing a proper job of it? Like that's the question. Um, but the host, he asks Andrew Tate, like, if your father happened to be in your childhood, if the fathers of these children that are being raised in single family households, if they're raised in nuclear families, if the men had just stayed around to raise these children, what effect would that have? And Andrew Tate, he goes on to state, like, that's the premium environment to raise any kid. Like, that's how it should be. Like, in a perfect world, that's how it would be. A man and a woman together raising a child, that's the optimal conditions to raising a successful, child into adulthood. Um, but, Tate goes on and he states, like, however, like, not a lot of men nowadays in the modern era here, not a lot of men benefit from relationships and marriage. Hence the problem. Like, and Tate goes on and he states that, people require incentive. And in today's world, like, men are seen merely as worker droids, like worker ants. Like, men are seen as just income earners, period. Worker droids. They work all day, they come home, they do chores, they clean, they cook, take care of kids. Like, a lot of these guys, they don't even get to come home to a hot meal. And then worst of all, they have absolutely no authority over their own household. And Andrew Tate continues, he states, like, what a lot of people fail to realize is that, men are intrinsically wired to desire respect, whether it's amongst our peers, whether it's in our work environment, our home environments, amongst friends. Like, when a man comes home to a household and there's no respect, like, he isn't going to be there very long. Um, and he goes on to explain the dilemma of the modern man. Andrew Tate, he asks, like, how do you fix this? And so what you need to understand, he states, is that, like, a lot of men don't have any incentive to want to be in such a household. Like, but it's so easy for women to make men happy, though. Tate responds, like, you have to have, yeah, all you have to do, like, the crux of the problem here is just give them respect. Like, even if it's asking them something simple, like, what's your opinion on this item, like, that I want to buy? Like this lawnmower, like, honey, what's your opinion on this? Like, that will make his day as a man. Like, that will make a man feel useful. It makes him, I feel like he's wanted and needed. Like, something that simple does so much. And to sum it up, like, a man just wants to be respected. He wants to feel like he's used, to be useful. He wants to be the man of the house. That's how a man wants to feel. Like, that's his optimal living condition right there. And when a man feels like he's not being respected, when a man feels like his voice isn't being heard, you know, that puts an end to a man's interest and in his tolerance for that sort of situation. So we're talking earlier about men leaving relationships, men leaving marriages, and this epidemic of single mothers and stuff. Like, what's causing it? Well, it's the fact that men aren't being respected. And like, even Tate mentioned, like, there's a lot of guys who are married and who love their wives, but if there's a lack of respect there for the man in his own house, then that marriage, it's not going to last. What's in it for a man, if he comes home to a house where he's just absolutely miserable, and God forbid it's the wife who's making him miserable. Like, what is that going to do to a marriage, to a relationship? Like, you're starting to put the dots together at this point. But Adam, the host, he asks Tate, like, Is it the woman's responsibility or is it the man's responsibility? Like, is it on the wife or is it on the husband? This topic of respect in a relationship. And Andrew Tate goes on to explain, well, it's both. Like, it's on the man to earn that respect, but he elaborates and bear with me here, guys. You know, Tate, he started talking about the matrix programming, um, the matrix and its programming is countering the man. Like, if you're confused, we have the matrix, the system, society. It's this matrix is through programming is telling men that they shouldn't be allowed to be the man of the house anymore. They shouldn't get to have that authority that they so crave and desire. Like, they shouldn't be allowed to have a say in what happens. And the matrix is feeding this thought into the mindset of everyone in today's society. And if that mindset seeps into your woman, your wife, and your children, like, as a man, like, you don't have any influence at that point. And it's at that point where your wife, your children, everyone in your life, they will begin to look down on you. And like Tate mentioned earlier, like how men are being seen as worker droids and nothing more. But he says it again, and as a man, this is how your family will see you. You're nothing but a worker, a slave, a robot. And the worst of all, like, your feelings and your opinions are absolutely irrelevant. Like, they do not matter at all. And so that's the dilemma of the modern man right there, is that they are not being given any respect um, by their own wives, sometimes by their own children. And he calls it the matrix. The programming is teaching women, it's teaching children to be disrespectful. And he lays out some examples, and he mentions, if you watch any Netflix show, any family show, like the mother or the wife, she's always the smart one. The man is always the bumbling idiot. And I watch these shows and they give examples like Family Guy, The Simpsons, Married with Children, Modern Family. You'll see in these shows, like, men are being denigrated. And as Tate said, men are reduced to the role of the bumbling idiot. Like, absolute constant disrespect being hammered into us through our media. But Tate continues, um, and he goes on to say that if he had to choose between a long-lasting marriage with a woman that loves him or a woman that just respects him, he would choose the woman who respects him over the woman who loves him, believe it or not. And even though he says, like, they're the same thing, because if a woman loves you, then she'll respect you by default. But in the scenario that, if I had to choose between a woman who loves me or respects me, like, I'll choose a woman who respects me. Like, that's how much it means to a man. And that's real talk right there. But from there, Tate goes on to talk about the importance of respect. And that's the crux of this entire argument for today, is just the respect and the lack thereof. And disrespect and the consequences of a man who gets disrespected. And Andrew Tate, he goes on to state that, disrespect, it's dangerous. And in a household where stuff like that occurs, Like a man ends up depressed, he ends up sad, like, and he can't deal with a life like that. And and that's kind of like how he ends it off, by just reiterating that men, uh, they just want to be respected, they want to be appreciated. Like as men, we're supposed to be strong and stoic. We're supposed to be the strong backbone of the relationship, to shoulder the burden, every burden. But then again, men are being treated with any respect, at home, especially at home. And, hence the fact that, these are the guys that they end up just walking out. Um, but that's pretty much the entire clip right there, everyone. Like, to be honest, like Andrew Tate, he didn't really go into depth about, why men should never get married. But he did bring up a really valid point here. Um, but what did I think about it all as a married man? What's my take on all this? Like I said, like Andrew Tate, he didn't really say much about why men should never get married, but he did bring up a good reason as to why a lot of men do not get married, why a lot of men leave marriages, and relationships altogether, like why men are just not bothering to get into committed relationships, let alone marriage. And that reason, as we stated pretty specifically, is respect. Like that's the key word for today's video, guys, is respect. That one word, it sums up everything. And like Tate, he talks the entire time about how men basically, like I said, that they're seen as worker droids. They work all day, they come home, chores, cleaning, cooking, taking care of kids, not even having a hot meal ready from, the missus. And the worst of all that is, these guys that have no authority over their own households. Um, and that's true, right? It's true to the point where men are being downtrodden is one of the reasons, like, why MTOW was born, Like if women won't respect men because they demand the same respect, that's like effinism right there. Like women are demanding respect. We want to be treated like men. And that's like we'll take from men to give to us, And the Tate goes on, he calls it the matrix. You know, how us as a society are being programmed to be, disparaging towards men, to be disparaging towards husbands, to be disrespectful towards husband. Um, like you come to understand how like MTOW was formed, and why men are choosing to go their own way. It's because they're being disrespected. Like society's teaching it, like as he calls it, the matrix. But as a married man, guys, like this entire video, it was just Andrew Tate, talking about the importance of respect in a man's life. And, he's not wrong. He's 100% correct. Like he states how men yearn for respect in their lives, their careers, amongst friends and family, and most importantly, at home. And yeah, as a married man and as a father myself, like it is important, like as a man to come home and not get shat on by your wife, and your children, like your step parents, like like it reminds me of the meme I saw online, the punchline by a comedian. Like they're asking, like, why do men come home from work and just sit in the car in the driveway for like 10 or 15 minutes sometimes. Like, why is that? It's you come to understand, like, there's a good reason a guy just he gets off work and he comes home and he just sits in his car for a good 10 or 15 minutes. It's a man's way to collect his thoughts, like mentally to like calm down, to prepare himself. Like God forbid, especially if there's a disrespectful wife and bratty ass kids waiting inside that house, or a mountain of housework to do once he walks into the house. Like, yeah, a lot of you guys can agree, like, for the working man who works a full shift, 8 to 10 to 12 hours at a job, you get home and it's like getting off your first job and going into your second job. Like, even just coming home from work, it feels like it's another job almost. Like, you can't relax, you can't unwind. Like, you got no respect in your own household, and that's what causes that. Um, God, I remember, I remember when my teen daughters were infants. Like, I remember coming home from my job and walking through the door, and you'd hear the screaming and the crying, and my frustrated wife, and man, I just worked 10 hours, and I was just in the middle of it all over again. And I remember pulling up to the driveway and just sitting there, and I'll listen to I'll listen to one song, and then I'll go inside, and yeah, I'll listen to two songs. I'll listen to this song by Meatloaf. That's like 8 minutes. Like, but yeah, a lot of guys can, yeah, agree. A lot of guys, they understand that feeling. You get off, you sit in your car, and it's like, God, I just don't want to have to walk into that. It's mentally exhausting as much as your full-time job is. But at least for me, like, at least on a personal note, like, at least I had respect. I had help from my wife. We worked as a team. I'm proud to say, and I know my wife was going through the hard times that I was going through, like working and balancing the kids, doing the housework. Like, my wife, believe it or not, she worked a job outside the house, then they came home to the kids, and like she was as frazzled as I was. So, like, I knew what she was going through, but a lot of what Tate says, like everything from his dad walking out in the beginning of the video, the fight, flight, or freeze response that everyone faces in their life. Um, hey, I understand everything what Tate was saying in this video, um, like right down to what Andrew was talking about, what he called the Matrix. Um, he called it the Matrix, like, and I was actually like, it made me laugh because I was discussing that with my daughters like yesterday, like literally. Like, my wife, for example, she watches this sitcom on cable called Everyone Loves Raymond, and I can't stand it, guys. And she said she's seen like all 8 or 10 seasons. She's watched them like 5 times over, and she knows I hate it. And I was telling my daughters as we were sitting on the couch, as my wife was flipping through which episode to watch, like, my wife asked me, like, well, why do you hate Everyone Loves Raymond so much? And it's like, I can't stand this whole stupid ass trope, this tired old trope of the this stupid ass husband, the bumbling idiot, as Andrew Tate calls him. And I was telling my daughters that how prevalent that is in today's media. The trope of the bumbling idiot husband, and the wife who's the level-headed, logical one, and the husband's always the punchline of every joke, and it gets so fucking tiresome. And you see it so often. Everyone loves Raymond, like Modern Family, and then, like they said, Family Guy, Simpsons. Like you see it so often. It's like the Matrix is purposely trying to destroy the traditional strong male role model, you know. They're like the Matrix, it's trying to destroy the traditional nuclear family. They're trying to turn like the strong, stoic, proud husband, the hardworking man. They're making a mockery of him. But you know, people are starting to see that. Like I was laughing about it, discussing it with my daughters and my wife. Like once you see it, it's there. Like you see the code. If you know what I mean, you see the code of the Matrix, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know what they're programming you, uh, how they're programming this disrespect of the common everyday working man, how they're turning the working man into just a punchline of a joke. Like you see it, you start to see it in sitcoms and in movies. You see it in advertisements. You know, the emasculated, weak, like beta husband, but and like people are seeing it, and that's good, like because it's starting to fall on deaf ears. Like the Matrix is failing in its task to demoralize and you know, emasculate men. Like what all it's doing now is guy all it's doing now is it's literally causing men to go their own way, to avoid relationships, to avoid marriage, to avoid children. Like you have to understand, guys, like no man, like no self, like respecting man wants to be that bumbling, weak, emasculated beta male, like the bumbling idiot, as Andrew Tate called him. Like, no man wants to be like that. Like, you see guys turning to characters like John Wick, um, like in film, or like you know, you Tony Soprano or whatever his name is from Breaking Bad. You see guys turning to these guys who are meant to be villains, you know, but are they're badasses, you know. You know, like the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix character. Like instead of this guy being the villain, like men are like, man, I totally get why he did what he did. Like you see these villains in cinema, and like guys are like drawing take they're drawn to them as inspiration on what men should be. And it's like it's this warped perspective men are getting on what masculinity is. And it's like all of a sudden women and experts are like absolutely perplexed. Like why are guys seeing like the Joker as a role model for masculinity? Like why are men seeing like Tony Soprano as like the masculine male? Like it's that's because we have like fucking Homer Simpson and the Peter Griffin and whatever. That's what you're showing us what a man is supposed to be, and that's what the man that we don't want to be, you know. And it's like it's an ongoing thing, and that's basically, guys. I feel like I've been rambling here. That's the crux of what Andrew Tate was getting at. Um, then there's not much more to say, you know. Like Andrew Tate was completely right about respect. Like it's the reason why men shouldn't get married. Is it the reason men shouldn't get married? Like, yeah, but it goes a lot deeper than that, remember. Like, just remember how men desire respect, how men we seek respect in all aspect of our lives. That's true. As a married man, I can confirm that. Like in a relationship, especially a marriage, like respect is vital. Like all the MTOW red pill YouTubers, like they always proclaim around the manosphere, like if a woman doesn't respect you guys, she will definitely cheat on you. Like disrespect is weakness. And women, like whether she's your wife or your girlfriend, like women don't tolerate weakness in men. Like you have to remember that. And that's what Tate was kind of espousing on. Like, if they don't respect you, they're not going to love you and they're going to make your life miserable. Hence the MTOW movement, hence the declining marriage rate. Hence, like it all ties together. You start seeing the code in the matrix here. Like respect is key, like guys and girls, like every person, man or woman, you need to learn to respect yourself. You need to learn to respect your parents and respect God and respect your partner most of all. If they're going to be your life partner, I'm not going to go as far as to say respect authority. Like I'm getting pretty sick of the government taxing me over 40%, but I will say respect your spouse, guys. Um, but yeah, that's all I got to say for today. I drove to quite a while there. Just remember the key word for today, ladies and gentlemen, is respect. Like you need to learn it, you need to have it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. This was a clip from a longer podcast. Um, so maybe go head on over there and check it out. The SOS cast. Check out the full thing if you're interested. Like I said, I'll post a link to it. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about respect and what you think about marriage. What you think about the Matrix. Is that programming actually being effective on how it's portraying men? Are people starting to see the code? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And then don't forget, the usual, leave comments, give me a like. If you can give me a subscription, that'd be awesome. I'm close to 100 now. As a small channel, I'm actually very stoked about hitting 100 subscribers. It's a far cry from the 100,000 or 1 million for like Mr. Beast and whatnot, but baby steps. I'm just happy we're married now, and I appreciate all you guys that have subscribed and are still here listening. Um, and are bearing with me through these videos. I appreciate all you guys, but yeah, like, subscribe, all that jazz. If you want to hit me up as a married man at outlook.com, if you want to give me your 2 cents. If you have any criticism, video ideas and stuff, I love hearing from you guys. But other than that, that's all I got for today. I want to thank y'all for listening. I definitely appreciate you guys, and I hope I'll see you guys all at the next video. So, bye for now.